Hello everyone, welcome to week 4 of the Any Given Sunday Fantasy Football League. This is Chris, your commish, here live. It is Thursday afternoon, Thursday night for you guys on the East Coast already. The Thursday night game is about to start between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Miami Dolphins. This week, I'm going to do what we usually do. We're going to go over what happened last week in the league, and then I'm going to cover our matchups going into tonight's matchups. Forgive me, my teeth have just got put in today, so I might have a little bit of a lisp in the video. But hey, brand new teeth, just got them in, good to go. They're permanent. Dogs ate my last ones. Glad to have new ones though, and I got my smile back. Let's move into it. Our week 3 recap. All right. Starting with my game with Bacchiotomy last week. Both teams are kind of struggling right now. My team especially was 0-2 going into this league. I had high hopes so far this year, but right now I'm kind of been struggling with the waiver wire, as have been a lot of injuries, and I'm sure a lot of people have been dealing with those injuries right now. Last week I had Joe Flacco going against Brock Osweiler in the quarterback slot. Joe Flacco had a decent game against Jacksonville. He only got me about 13.9 points. And Brock Osweiler got shut down last week in New England. They lost no points on the board. Brock Osweiler was lucky to put up 9 that week. I'm sure Steven was happy he even got that out of him that week. But it wasn't enough to get him the win. I ended up getting the win 101.9 to 69.25. My big money player that week was Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley had a big game this past week. He went, let's see, he had 85 rush yards and 2 touchdowns on 27 attempts. And Todd Gurley finally showed up for me this week after having a lame first 2 weeks. I'm hoping for another big week out of him again this week. Steven's his biggest player was Lamar Miller. He was their main guy throughout the game. He got most of the passes. He's a pretty consistent player, getting around 11 points a game. And last week he was able to get him 80 rush yards and with no touchdowns. Steven's players were sticking around that 7 to 10 point range, while some of my players, thanks to Todd Gurley, pretty much I was able to pull out the win last week. All right, we had Detroit Rock City taking on the Keystone Champs in a high-scoring affair. Detroit Rock City ended up getting the W in this one. He won 137.4 to 132.05. Drew Brees having a big day. Aaron Rodgers also had a big day for Keystone. He had Antonio Brown actually show up for the game this week. He got 17 points. Did really well. He went against Mike Evans for Keystone, who also put up 21 points. The difference here was DeMarco Murray. He ended up going for 114 yards and a touchdown. Was able to pull out the W with him, and also New England having that shutout in Houston helped Nate take the win. Then we had the in-house matchup. We had, not in this house, it used to be in our house, but now we had the married couple taking on each other. Polsky versus Mean Mama's Dirty Landry. Still not sure about the name Sasha, but hey, whatever helps you sleep at night. Polsky had a really bad day out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick was looking like crap, threw 6 interceptions. Huge negative day for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Negative 3.4 points on Sunday. His big guy showing up though was LaShawn McCoy. And my teeth just fell out. It just happened. It just fell. Polsky had LaShawn McCoy go for 24 points. Sasha got a big day out of Marvin Jones Jr., who ended up going up against Green Bay this week. Green Bay didn't pay any attention to this guy. He was able to get 205 receptions with 2 touchdowns. She also had Carlos Hyde, who had an awesome game against Seattle. Unfortunately, the Niners lost that game, but he ended up having 103 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. All right, going on to the next matchup, we had Jesus is my co-pilot versus Sean's team. Sean's team kind of ended up running away with it. He had Phillip Rivers going against Andrew Luck. Both quarterbacks had decent games. Both Phillip Rivers had 14.5 points, while Andrew Luck had 18.5 points. And then Odell Beckham ended up having 121 reception yards. this past week, so that got him 13.85 points with PPR math in there. And then he also had Christine Michaels for Seattle, who showed up this week. Then he had Chris's team taking on, he put a ring on it, Monica. Chris had Eli Manning in, who had a decent game. Monica also had Matt Ryan going, who had a pretty good game against New Orleans this week. They kind of ran away with that one right off the bat on Monday night. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to bring her back to the win. She ended up playing Kelvin Benjamin this week, who the past 2 weeks has been killing it, and this week laid a big fat goose egg. And wouldn't you know it, Doug Baldwin, who was on the bench, I benched him in my other league too, went off against the 49ers. 27 points on her bench, unfortunately. But he had Chris, big player, Mike Ingram, coming up with a lot of rushing yards, had 19.7 points. And Jarvis Landry with a huge game against Cleveland showed up last week and got him 22.35 points, giving him the win, 109.45 to 92.9. Then he had the Boost taking on Jeff Ariah's team. Boost is in a low down in the cellar with Monica. He's behind Monica right now, but he's in 12th place. Had Cam Newton going this week, who had a hard time against that Minnesota defense. Minnesota's looking tougher and tougher every week.
For the love of God!
Move into it, our week 4 matchups. In the next matchup, we got Keystone Champs taking on Jeff Ariah's team. This one here is also pretty closely projected. Keystone currently has Cincinnati's defense, who isn't looking too hot right now. They already got scored on, but right now it's still a close matchup. You got Keystone projected at 106.06, while Jeff Ariah is projected at 108.34 for Jeff Ariah's team, leading him off. He's banking on Brandon Cooks having another big week when they play that San Diego defense. And Mike Evans is going to have a tough matchup against Denver this week. Mike Evans is usually a pretty reliable guy as far as points go, but I believe that he's going to be struggling against that Denver defense. And obviously Jeff Ariah is going to be banking on David Johnson and Devonta Freeman showing up again. Those are always solid guys, but he's got a good matchup against Ezekiel Elliott, who's been doing fairly well. Last game he did really well. The first 2 games he was so-so, but he came out in this last game. They're playing against San Francisco, who has a bad run defense. So Ezekiel Elliott could be putting up points this week. It's going to come down to those running backs. He's got to hope that Ezekiel Elliott at least outscores one of just 2 running backs who are just in beast mode right now. You got Jesus is my co-pilot Kenny taking on Me Mama's Dirty Landry, Sasha. See in the matchup, we got Phillip Rivers, who I think is also going to have a big game this week. He's playing New Orleans. New Orleans' pass defense is the worst in the league. He should be putting up points this week. And Sasha's got Carson Palmer, who had that horrendous week last week, 4 interceptions. Playing against an LA defense that's not bad. They're a pretty good defense, so I think they're going to be putting the ball on the ground a little bit more this game, but maybe Fitz shows up again and gets some points. Eric Decker has a tough matchup for Sasha against Seattle. Seattle's defense has been looking solid, regardless of how the offense has been looking. Right now it's looking like Russell Wilson he's got that MCL tear, sprain, so that could hinder their passing ability throughout the game. And Jesus, my co-pilot, is going to be looking out of his big game from Alshon Jeffrey. He still has Jordy Nelson in his lineup, who's on a bye. I expect that to change. Right now on his bench, he's got Ryan Matthews going against Houston that could be replaced, or he's got Amir Abdullah as well. We'll see what Jesus, my co-pilot, does. It looks like he kind of slept on his team right now, but maybe he should have someone in the lineup for Jordy Nelson when he goes on Sunday. Team taking on Sean's team, the 2 Vegas guys. They'll probably be seeing each other sometime during the week. Oh, they don't work at Brandon. Anyway, you got the 2 Vegas guys taking on each other. Chris's team taking on Sean's team. Eli Manning starting for Chris's team against Minnesota, that tough Minnesota defense. I don't know if Eli's going to be producing very much. And you got Andrew Luck taking on the Jacksonville defense, who Jacksonville actually looked pretty decent last week on defense. But Andrew Luck is starting to get in his groove a little bit. and he put up a lot of points with T.Y. Hilton last week. So we'll see how they do this week. Larry Fitzgerald could be poised for another breakout weekend. It's a division game, so you know they're going to try to get Fitz involved. Can't sleep on Julio Jones for Chris's team either. He was getting thrown the ball a lot in the last game for Atlanta, and those guys are both going to be producing. Matt Forte is an interesting one. He's got Chris's team has got Matt Forte in the lineup against Seattle. Forte has been kind of off and on. He's still there. He still wants to prove he's relevant, but he's still got a lot to do, a lot of work to do. And then we got Sean's team, who's got Demaryius Thomas. Obviously, big game last week. Trevor Siemian had 4 touchdowns. He had a huge game last week. Looked good. They're playing against a Tampa Bay defense that can be passed on. So I could see Demaryius Thomas getting a lot of points this week. And the final matchup of the week, we got Boost taking on, he put a ring on it, the in-house matchup, Wabi versus Monica, the 2 last place teams. Both teams need to win really bad, and at least one of them is going to get it this week. Currently, Boost got Cam Newton in, playing against Atlanta this week. Atlanta's been looking tough, but their defense does give up points. So Cam Newton could be getting back on the ball again this week. Matt Ryan taking on Carolina. So it's fun because you got those 2 guys. You got 2 quarterbacks who are facing each other. So basically, you're going to have Wabi rooting for Carolina to do well, and you're going to have Monica rooting for Atlanta to do well against Carolina. Should be fun. Should be a fun game. Let's see. We got LeGarrette Blount on Boost, who's been getting his fair share of carries. He's been moving the ball in the red zone a lot. He's been getting those goal line carries. So LeGarrette Blount, always a touchdown threat. The interesting one is going to be Kelvin Benjamin for Monica. Feel bad. Put up a big goose egg last week after 2 awesome weeks. Awesome weeks in week 1 and week 2. Kelvin Benjamin put up a goose egg last week, but look for him to get back on track against an Atlanta defense who, like I said, was giving up some points on defense. You know that Cam Newton's going to be throwing the ball his way a lot. All right, for one of our favorite segments of the week, the Squeak of the Week. All right, I have to give the Squeak of the Week to Detroit Rock City this week. They played. They had Drew Brees going on Monday night in a losing affair, but he was down a good chunk of points. Drew Brees decided to show up on Monday night with enough. He got 35 points. He had 376 yards, 3 passing TDs, and 1 interception for a pick 6, which hurt him a lot in that game. But anyway, either way, Drew Brees still put up 35 points, got him past that mark, and got him the Squeak of the Week. Congratulations, Lee. All right, so currently just a quick league breakdown. We got Jeff Raya's team in first place, 3-0. We got Keystone Champs in second place at 2-1. We also got Detroit Rock City in third place at 2-1. We got Sean's team in fourth place at 2-1. Jesus is my co-pilot in fifth place, 2-1. Chris's team is at 2-1 in sixth place. Polsky's at 2-1 in seventh place. Mean Mama's Dirty Landry's at 8th place at 1-2. Bacchiotomy's at 1-2 and 9th. Yobagoya, my team, is in 10th at 1-2. And then you got He Put a Ring on it at 0-3 and 11th. And you got Boost at 0-3 and 12th. There's gonna be a lot of movement going on this week. Obviously, we're gonna have one team that's gonna be 0-4, and we're gonna have one team that's 1-3. So, all right. So that's your Week 4 breakdown for the Any Given Sunday League. Looks to be a good, exciting week. We got a lot of stuff that could happen. We're gonna have one team that's gonna be 0-4 and in 12th place. Everybody's still in it though. Remember, all you gotta do is make it to the playoffs. Good luck, everybody, this week, and I will see you next week in Week 5.